Hey everybody, this is Eric Clark's Travel Videos, and I'm here at the Tucson Titan Missile Museum, and it's pretty amazing. I'm going to take you inside and show you the big rocket. Yeah, not very often you get to say that, but let's go show you the rocket. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Titan Missile Museum. My name is Thomas. I will be your tour guide today. I am dealing with some allergies, so I may be coughing or sneezing throughout the tour. I am not contagious. Now, before we get started, we are going to have to go back in time just a little bit to 1969 and the height of the Cold War. A few of you may be old enough to remember those days. And for the next 24 hours, all of you are now members of the 390th Strategic Missile Wing of the United States Air Force, based out of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in downtown Tucson. And for that 24-hour period, you'll be standing a duty alert inside one of the 18 Titan II missile silos located throughout Pima County. Like any alert crew, you'll begin your day with a briefing. We'll cover a little bit of history on the Cold War and a little bit more on the role of nuclear weapons in that conflict. We'll then make our way outside to a rather unassuming hole in the ground. That hole will lead us down into the rather impressive complex you can see on the screen behind me. We'll descend that center section 55 steps to the blast lock area. There we'll learn about site security and just how tough this place actually is. We'll then make our way through the blast locks, take a left, and enter the dome structure you can see on my right, the LCC or Launch Command Center. There we will meet our crew, learn what their jobs were, follow them throughout a 24-hour period, and then we will launch a simulated, and I must emphasize that, simulated Titan II missile at a target somewhere in the former Soviet Union. Then, to reassure all of you we didn't just start World War III, we'll leave the control center, travel 255 feet down the cableway to the silo that you can see on my left. There we'll learn everything we wanted to, and a lot of things we didn't about this weapon system. Let's go and get started, shall we? Don't need to get up just yet.
Welcome to the Titan Missile Museum. You're about to tour Complex 571-7. This site was operational from 1963 to 1982 and was one of 18 silos here in the Tucson area. Before going on the tour, we're going to watch a brief video explaining the Cold War and the part that the Titan II intercontinental ballistic missile played in it. The Cold War developed in the late 1940s after World War II, when distrust rose between the United States and the Soviet Union. These former allies were now in a geopolitical fight for global influence. A key part of the Cold War was an arms race between the world's two superpowers. The focal point of the battle for military superiority was nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them. Both sides developed what became known as a nuclear triad, which is an integrated system of delivering these destructive payloads by air, sea, and land. This meant strategic bombers in the air, submarine-launched ballistic missiles from the sea, and land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles known as ICBMs. The Titan II ICBM that you'll see here was part of a second generation of liquid-propelled missiles. The Titan II carried the W-53, a 9-megaton thermonuclear warhead equaling 9 million tons of TNT. For comparison, in World War II, the Allies dropped 3.4 million tons of bombs. Each W-53 had nearly 3 times that equivalent. These weapons are city busters, doomsday devices with world-ending destructive capability. There were 54 Titan II missile sites assigned to 3 active strategic missile wings. There was the 308th Wing near Little Rock, Arkansas, the 381st Wing near Wichita, Kansas, and the 390th Strategic Missile Wing here in southern Arizona. Each wing was made up of 18 silos. A wing was composed of 2 squadrons, each equipped with 9 missile silos. Assigned to the 390th were the 570th and 571st Strategic Missile Squadrons. This silo was assigned to the 571st Squadron. Each silo was in operation 24 hours a day, 365 days a year by a crew of 4, 2 officers and 2 enlisted personnel. Crews were assigned to their silos for 24-hour shifts called alerts. The Titan II missiles sitting in their hardened protected silos with their ability to launch in less than a minute were a credible threat of a retaliatory or second strike against a preemptive nuclear attack. This meant that an aggressor could not expect that a first strike would destroy all the opponent's nuclear strike capability. The aggressor would in return be devastated in a second strike. This is known as mutually assured destruction. If one side launches, then the other will respond, at least as forcefully, ensuring that both countries will be annihilated. This concept was also expressed as peace through deterrence. The theory is that since neither side could win a nuclear war, that neither side would start one. In 1982, the Air Force started deactivating the Titan II missile system as newer ICBM systems came online. The 390th was the first wing to be deactivated. 5 years later, in 1987, the last Titan IIs were deactivated, 24 years after the missile's initial development and deployment. The Cold War continued until 1991, when the Soviet Union dissolved into its member states. In this sense, peace through deterrence was successful, without either side launching a nuclear strike. Before going on the tour, I'd like to cover a few safety items. First, watch your head, especially if you're over 6 feet tall or around 2 meters, because there are many low beams in the silo access tunnel. Secondly, watch your step, especially on the stairs. Keep your eye out for any desert critters inside and outside of the silo, especially around doors and curbs where they like to hide. If you see one, remain calm, don't touch, back away, and let a staff member know and we'll take care of it. Also, please listen to your tour guide and any instructions they have. Also, save any questions until they say that they're ready for them. And lastly, thank you for visiting this National Historic Landmark, which is a window into the past.
And with our briefing over, it's time to head off to work. Our commute would not have been 25 yards. It would have been 25 miles down a dirt road. And it would have ended at that gate right over there. That gate is our crew's first real obstacle on their way into work. There are no cameras up here. They have no radio. They have no cell phone. What they do have is a landline phone in a blue box next to that gate. Driver picks up the phone. It's us. We're here. Let us in. Gate open. The moment it does so, a 3-minute countdown begins. Why 3 minutes? Well, that is a perfectly reasonable amount of time for our crew to drive in, park, walk across here, and down those concrete steps behind you. It's also a security feature. Let's say our crew has been taken hostage by a bunch of really angry roadrunners. How do they alert the duty crew they're in trouble? Simple. A nice, slow stroll in this lovely Arizona weather of ours. If it takes them more than 3 minutes to get down those concrete steps, duty crew knows something's wrong, they call the cops, problem solved. No code words, no distress signals needed. Now, seeing as we lack a bunch of angry road runners and you're all probably getting tired of staring into the sun, we're going to head on downstairs, shall we? There are 55 of them. Please take your time and head right in there.
Amazing. Okay, we're going down into the missile silo. Huh. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, everybody, that's the actual missile silo right there, and we're going into the control center now. Cool. Okay. Okay, we gotta go down 55 stairs.
We have a big group, keep the bottom of the stairs clear, let everybody down. It would not have been that easy to get all the way down here.
That's a big door.
Let's say our crew's made down those concrete steps inside of 3 minutes. Bottom of those steps, There's another blue box with another landline phone inside. Commander picks up the phone. It's me. I'm here. Let me in. Then he and he alone enters through that blue door into the entrapment area 35 feet above us. There, under the unblinking eye of the only security camera in this entire complex, he must do three things. First, he must remove from his pocket a paper envelope with a paper card on it. On that card is a code. He must read that code into yet another phone. If everything checks out, he can let his crew in and they are through to the next round. But before he can follow in their footsteps, he must destroy that paper card by setting it on fire and dropping it into the red coffee can you may have seen on the wall up there. The four men then descend 55 steps. The same 55 steps we just came down. Ladies, step aside, let this gentleman through.
Thank you. Where's that?
Yeah, very well. The same 55 steps we just came through, down to this lobby area and a very large and very locked door. How does our crew get in? Pick up the phone. One last call right over there. It's us. We're here. Let us in. If everything's checked out, open button is pushed, our dog locks disengage, and the door stays shut. Does anybody want to take a guess as to how much my door weighs? It does indeed weigh a lot. To the tune of 6,000 pounds or 3 tons. And like I said, it's a manual door. My advice to all of you is study for that promotion board and do not irritate your boss. There are 4 of these you're going to have to open up. And with that last door open, our crew has arrived at work. And for the next 24 hours, it will be their responsibility to, if called upon, end life on Earth as we know it. Now that happy thought bouncing around inside of our heads, let's talk a little bit about our home away from home, shall we? We are, as I mentioned, 35 feet underground. These walls are up to 8 feet of reinforced concrete and steel. My door and others like it are blast-proof, bomb-proof, fire-proof, child-proof, and thanks to that flange and neoprene gasket, completely airtight. We can survive a 300 PSI blast. That is the equivalent of 900 tons hitting my door at the speed of sound. It takes about 5 PSI to bring down your house. Nothing is getting in here unless we weigh. Well, there is one exception. A direct hit from a Soviet atomic bomb. And by direct, I mean within a mile of where we're standing. Now, if I were to fire a modern ICBM at the home stadium of my least favorite NFL team, well, that warhead will land on the 50-yard line, and no, I'm not telling you who it is. That's why they chose this lovely shade of seafoam green. Supposedly it helps keep you calm. Please let me know if it actually works. You all follow me?
Look at this lock. That's the hydraulic lock. Wow, that's crazy. Another door. More locks. And another door. Wow. Another door. Wow. Okay.
Does anybody want to take a guess as to why there are big springs mounted on my walls?
shock absorbers.
Someone did their homework and we found our first KGB officer. Those are indeed shock absorbers. We are in fact floating in midair, suspended on 8 massive shock absorbers. We can bounce 18 inches up and down, or sway 12 inches side to side, and not even see a ripple in our morning coffee. We are earthquake-proof on top of everything else. Now I need a couple of brave volunteers. So take a seat right there, so take a seat right there. And congratulations, the two of you are now under arrest for breaking the first rule of military service. You never, ever, ever volunteer for anything. Now before the MP show up to drag these two off to the bridge, let's go ahead and meet them, shall we? So this gentleman right here, he is our MCCC, our Missile Combat Crew Commander. Down here he is the boss, the big kahuna, the king. Quite heavy is the head that wears the crown. He has 3 major responsibilities. He is responsible for the lives of 3 other human beings. He is responsible for a $13 million strategic asset. $13 million at a time when I could have gotten a tank of gas and a large one-topping pizza for about $2.50. Then there's a little ending the world thing. We'll get to that in just a moment. But as Mel Brooks would say, it is good to be king, because he can delegate a lot of his job onto this gentleman over here, our DMCCC, our Deputy Missile Combat Crew Commander. He is himself a commander in training. But until that happy day when he can ascend the throne as king himself, he has a lot of work to do. He is our safety officer. He must know the location of every living thing at all times. He is also our communications officer, our only link to the outside world. Well, him and that bank are radio with me. Now, there are a couple of things you might have missed on the way down. The first is that this is a combat position. There's a reason why I refer to our crew as he on the way down. As a combat position, that means 2 things. The first is you get an extra $50 a month on your paycheck. The second is it will be no women allowed until 1978, an act of Congress, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dirty looks set in my direction. The other is that I mentioned 4 crew. 2 does not equal 4, or at least I don't think it does. I'm not very good at math. Now the 2 that we have met are our officers. The other 2 are enlisted personnel. The first is our MFT, or Missile Facilities Technician. They are our on-scene handy person. Something down here breaks, well, they're the ones who are going to have to fix it. The other is a graduate of the academically hardest school in all of the armed forces. Only 1 out of every 10 will graduate and earn the title of BMAT, Ballistic Missile Analysis Technician. They are an expert in everything to do with our Titan II missile. Something on it breaks, they can tell us what it is, what it does, why it broke, and what we can do to fix it. And down here, ladies and gentlemen, it's a young person's game. The average age of our officer was 24. The average age of an enlisted person was 18. Imagine this as your first job out of high school or college. My first job was stocking the shelves at a Target, which should be a combat position. Dear veterans of Black Friday. So what is it that our crew does down here all day long? Well, they get to start out their day with a 3-hour, top to bottom, left to right, inside, outside, and upside down check of literally every single thing here. Then there's paperwork, and drills, and paperwork, and training, and paperwork. Another 3-hour systems check, and paperwork, and drills, and paperwork, and training. And of course, paperwork, paperwork, and more paperwork. Doesn't that sound like fun? Sure. But it's not all bad. There is no email, and you get a 4-hour rest break upstairs in the crew quarters with bunk beds, a full bath, a full kitchen, a dinette set so hideously ugly it can only be designed by the government, and after 1970, a taxpayer-funded Pong machine. And I have no idea why you are laughing. This is not a fun and games job. This is as serious as it gets. Your job, Commander, is very simple. Your job is, if ordered, to kill every living thing on the face of this earth. It's known as mutually assured destruction, or MAD. The premise is very simple. You launch on us, we launch on you, and in about an hour, everybody's dead. Because everybody's dead, nobody wins. Because nobody wins, well, nobody starts this fight to begin with. Simple and effective. Let's say the Soviets decide to take that chance. Roll that dice. Make that gamble. And they start World War III. From the time the keys are turned to the time the bombs start going off is about 35 minutes. That's about how long it takes me to drive into work every morning. That is how long this war will last. And the first we will know this massive, overwhelming Soviet attack is when the dew line of radar stations across northern Canada lights up like a Christmas tree. After a couple of heartfelt curses, the dew operators call the Pentagon. The Pentagon calls the President. Why? Simple. There's only one person in this country who can order a nuclear attack. That is the President. It was true then, it is true now. The President says, well, this isn't what I want, but I don't have a choice, and he calls for the football. Now I can tell you what that is, and I can tell you how it works. For that information is need to know, you do not need to know. What you do need to know is this. From the outside, the football is almost a large leather briefcase. It is never more than a few feet from the President's side. And once activated, it sends a signal to the Pentagon. The Pentagon relays that signal to Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska, home of Strategic Air Command, or SAC. SAC then informs every bomber, every submarine, and every silo, that's us, this time during that $50 a month, it's time to launch. This entire process will take about 25 minutes. Now you might want to open up those red folders in front of you, because you're about to get one of these. Was an emergency action message, and you should have written it down, and it doesn't look like you did. So good job, we're all going to die. Congratulations, command crew. Now, the first thing our crew needs to do is exchange their binders. You get yours, you get his. Are you both in agreement you wrote down the same thing, which is absolutely nothing?
Same thing. Yep.
Well, at least the messages match, so they got that part right. Now, we won't know what kind of message this is until our deputy decodes that first line. It could be a weather report. It could be your performance evaluation. Or it could be a launch order. Unfortunately for us, it is option C, a launch order. Now, our crew needs to go over to that red safe in the corner behind the gentleman in the gray t-shirt. That is our EWO safe. There are 2 locks on it. Commander has the code to one, deputy has the code to the other. Inside they will find 2 things. The first is a PSYOP binder, basically our playbook in how to kill the world. The other is 24 of these. We call them codes. Which cookie do we open? Well, that message you didn't write down would have told us. The first two letters of that message correspond to one of these cookies. Let's say it was EH. Commander, is this cookie EH?
Yes.
Deputy, is this cookie EH?
Yes.
Can I get a drum roll, please? You're not staying on my desk. Thank you. We open it up to find more code. Now, if the code we just took out matched the code these two failed to write down, well then this is a valid launch order. If they don't match, then someone's playing games with us. But they do match, so hooray. The first thing we need is, what on earth, quite literally, are we shooting at? We know it is target number 2. What is target number 2? We do not know, for two reasons. The first is target 2, wherever it is still there. A good thing. The second is, it's easier on us if we don't know. Ignorance in this case truly is bliss. The next thing we need is our launch time. Last thing we want is a nuclear traffic jam over the North Pole for fairly obvious reasons. Luckily, we have our friend Zulu to help us out. This is a Zulu clock. It is 1850 Zulu. 6:50 in the afternoon. It is 1850 here. It is 1850 there. Here, there, and everywhere, it is 1850 Zulu. It's a universal time. No time zones, no daylight savings. The last thing we need is we need to open up some of these. This is a butterfly valve. It is currently closed. Now it is open. Now it is closed. You get the idea. There are 4 of these on our missile. 2 lead to the fuel, 2 lead to the oxidizer. We do not want these chemicals coming into contact with each other. They are hypergolic. That is a fancy way of saying they will explode on contact. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a figure of speech. That is literally what is going to happen. An explosion. And the only thing keeping those valves shut is that right there. A butterfly valve lock. There are 17 million possible combinations. And we only get 7 tries to open it up before it locks us out for the next 30 days. And again, that message you failed to write down would have been very helpful. The last 6 letters of that message are the unlock code. That is the only time we will ever see it. It is not stored here. It is kept at the Pentagon, a safeguard against a rogue crew launching their missile and starting a war. We have our target, we have our launch time, we have our unlock. What took me 10 minutes to describe would have been done by our crew in less than 2. And would you look at that, it's time to launch. Commander, know this. Once you turn that key, there is no going back. There is no abort, there is no self-destruct, there is no reset. The president himself could come running in that door, ordering you to stop, and the only thing you can say is, sorry, sir. Knowing this, are you prepared to turn that key, yes or no?
Yes.
Deputy, same question, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And you do abuse a KGB officer, so congratulations. Now, before they turn those keys, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen when they do. The first is that they will authorize and initiate the launch sequence, obviously. Our missile's batteries will then charge for the first and last time in their lives. 28 seconds later, the missile will switch from external to internal power, severing its last link to the outside world. Then our silo door, all 760 tons of it, will slide open in just 17 seconds. We'll then have missile guidance go. Titan now knows where its target is, a mere 30 minutes away. Our butterfly valves will open. allowing fuel and oxidizer to mix at the rate of 160 gallons every single second, resulting in that hyperglow explosion, engine ignition, and liftoff. Elapsed time, 58 seconds. It will feel much longer. There will be a couple of loud alarms, so do not be alarmed. Commander, deputy, please stand. Place your left hands on your launch keys. It's going to be right in front of you. Deputy, yours is going to be right over here on the side. Notice how far apart they are. One last security check. It takes two to launch this missile. Both of you must be in agreement. Commander, you will count down from 3. When you say mark, both of you will turn your keys 90 degrees clockwise and hold for 5 seconds. When you see the white APS power light come on, it'll be that second light. Your job is done. You can release your key and take your seat.
Okay.
All on you now.
3, 2, 1, mark.
And you guys are done. Take your seats. There's only one thing left to do. Take out that take out that pre-embargo, hand-rolled Havana cigar, and light that bad boy up. Young man, smoking is very bad for you. Don't start. Dad, you can turn down the death glare just a little bit. 58 seconds. It will feel much longer. Silo door is now open. We got about 20 seconds left. So how's everybody feeling right about now?
Hoping there's an age check.
Engine ignition and liftoff. In all likelihood, we will never know if we hit target number 2. We will never know if we were successful. Make of that what you will. So now what? Assuming we survive the incoming Soviet attack, our orders are to wait for further orders. We have 19 days of air down. If on day 19 we hear nothing, we have a choice to make. Option A is go back upstairs and have it not be our problem. Option B is with 10 days of food, be closed on our backs, 2 38 caliber revolvers with 12 rounds of ammunition, 2 sticks and a rock. We have to share the rock. We must make our way out of this bunker, cross on foot 20 miles of radioactive hellscape to reach a preset rendezvous, other survivors, and hopefully a rescue party. It's not much of a choice, is it? But it's a choice that no crew ever had to make. For the simple reason that the balance of terror that is mutually assured destruction prevailed, as it continues to prevail. The Soviets never launched. The football was never activated. For 24 years, crews sat down here waiting for an order that never came. Let us hope it never comes. Now, I've been doing this for a while now, and I can tell at least half of you don't believe a word I've said in the last 10 minutes. We heard nothing, we felt nothing, nor would we have at an actual launch. Maybe these two had such terrible performance reviews that they chose to end the world rather than talk to HR. So here's what we're gonna do. First, there's a small reward for our 2 brave crew. Commander, can you please read what's written in red ink on the bottom of that card?
Turn the launch key.
And that's all you had to do. Such a simple act with such monumental consequences. The second thing we're all going to do is we're all going to head 255 feet that way, down the cableway, all the way to the end, to the silo and the missile within. You will know both when you see them. This is the only invitation you're going to get, so I should just get a move on.
Okay, everybody, this is the tube that goes from the command center to the missile itself. And it's 200 yards away from the missiles to the control center. Wow.
I'm looking to your right, which would be here.
And there's the missile itself.
Oh, we were looking
Wow. That's crazy. Wow. It goes way, way, way down there. Wow. Wow. Wow.
I'm not sure how long it takes you to open the doors up.
Wow.
Down front room, please. Down front room.
Okay. Bye.
Cell coverage down here anyway. Your job's done, Commander. You can rejoin the group. But what exactly is a Titan II ICBM? The answer to that question is both very simple and very scary. Titan II is the largest, fastest, and most powerful nuclear weapon the United States military has ever deployed operationally. Our Titan II stands 10 stories tall. That silo it's sitting in is another 5 stories on top of it. Your average house is maybe 2 stories in height. Titan II is 10 feet across and tips the scales at 330,000 pounds. The same as 4 fully loaded tractor trailer trucks. It has a range of 6,500 miles, an accuracy of 87%, and a top speed 8 times that of a jet fighter. And it is fitted with a single W-53 thermonuclear warhead, a hydrogen bomb that is the explosive equivalent of 600 Hiroshima devices. Not 6, not 60, 600. And you can set that warhead to do one of 2 things. The first is bunker buster mode. That will leave a hole in the ground literally a mile wide and 50 stories deep. It is the only known method of getting rid of that groundhog from Caddyshack. Or you could be me and go for airburst mode. That will explode your house and set you on fire from 20 miles away, thanks to the 3-mile-wide firewall. But no matter which you choose, the end result is the same. 900 square miles of utter devastation. That is everything within 15 miles in every direction of where we are standing. That is an area 30 miles high by 30 miles wide. It is enough to destroy any city on Earth with room to spare. The only survivors of such an attack would be cockroaches munching on whatever the Soviet equivalent of a Twinkie is, because let's face facts, those will survive no matter what. But it's not all doom and gloom for Titan II. It's such a great space launch vehicle that NASA built 12 of them all for itself and used them in the Gemini program. In 1983, sanity at long last began to prevail in the Cold War arms race, and both the United States and the Soviet Union began drawing down their immense nuclear stockpiles. Titan II, rendered obsolescent by advanced technology, was amongst the first to go. And I am sorry to inform all of you that the Titan II that was here operationally was amongst the missiles removed from service. We did ask if we could keep it. We were told in no uncertain terms, absolutely not. So where then did our Titan II come from? Can I get a drum roll, please? You're not bang on my silo? Thank you. We did not buy it on Amazon. We did not find it at Walmart. We had it imported from Texas. It was never fitted with a warhead. It was never filled with fuel. It served as a massive training dummy for maintenance crews. And before the Air Force handed it over, they moved the engines, the guidance system, and most of the internal structure. We cannot launch this thing even if we wanted to. And just to make sure, a Soviet and now Russian satellite does fly by a couple times a day to take pictures. Please feel free to wave or gesture as you feel appropriate. There is a child present. So what then happened to the other 140 Titan IIs? Well, most of them were chopped up for scrap metal. A few survived long enough to be used to launch weather and communications satellites into orbit. The last such launch took place the year before I began high school in 2002. And with that last solitary act, Titan II entered history. And with the end of its story, sadly comes the end of ours. As to what happened next, as to what came next, well, that, my friends, is a tale for another day. On behalf of Titan Missile Museum, thank you for coming. Thank you for putting up with me and my bad jokes. This is where you all applaud and I take a bow. The floor is now open for questions.
I have a question.
What's the question?
If there was like how close would like a missile of this size have to be to this bunker to like take it out?
It would have to land within 1 mile of this bunker.
Okay, so if you were down here, and it kind of missed, it was like 2 or 3 miles away, you'd be able to live down here, right?
You
Until
would
you-
survive the initial attack, yes. In theory.
You just die later.
You just die later, either of suffocation or radiation poisoning. Nobody wins a nuclear exchange. That's why there has never been one.
How do they deal with human waste down here for them for 24 hours?
You have a full bathroom upstairs, there's a sewage tank.
So that
Every
gets
once in a
flushed
while, a truck would drive out, pump out the sewage tank.
After a 24-hour shift, you guys get days off? Or what happens?
Think of it like being a firefighter. You have your 24-hour shift. Then you have half a day to a day of training, briefings, and debriefings. Then you have a day to a day and a half off. Then you do it all over again, at 120 alerts a year.
Just a question, on the 24-hour shift, is there any sack time allowed?
Yes, you get a 4-hour rest break. Excuse me. You get a 4-hour rest break upstairs in the crew quarters, where there are bunk beds that are, all things considered, surprisingly comfortable.
How do they know how big of a crater that can make?
They detonated one of the warheads to see what would happen. And they ended up with a mile-deep crater in the Nevada desert.
Is it too small or too awkward to visit the crew quarters in here?
There's simply too many of you on this tour for us to get you all up there. The best way I can describe it is MASH meets the Brady Bunch. Believe me when I tell you, you're not missing a whole lot.
Brown bagging it or?
Yes, you would brown bag in your food every shift. You'd bring a lunch, a dinner, a breakfast, some snacks. Now the emergency rations, sufficient for 30 days for the 4 crew, are your standard issue C rations and later on MREs. As someone who has eaten both, I can tell you they are better than starving, but not by much.
You don't know my cooking.
MREs are a heck of a lot better than the C ration. Let me
Well,
tell
the
you.
C ration didn't exactly set the bar very high. Now, did
No,
it?
no, that's why I'm saying.
How were the missile booms moved? Was it
A very powerful winch. Today's missiles use what are essentially a rocket engine strapped on one side of it. Sends the thing flying across the silo top. And time for one, maybe two more questions.
And how did you get to be here, Travis?
I'm sorry?
How did you get to be here?
Well, I was on Indeed one night, saw the job posting and applied for it. The fact that I have 15 years of experience as an interpreter and a master's in military history might have also had something to do with it.
What are the nozzles on the side up at the top here for?
Nozzles on the top.
They're on the side of the silo pointing toward the missile.
Not seeing what you're seeing, sir. What's that to me?
Like right up here? Is that just for?
Those are hydraulic hoses. Those platforms, a couple of which are extended out here, are work platforms for the maintenance crew.
Can we walk around? Bless you.
You see? Yes, you can. We got about a minute to a minute and a half.
It goes all the way around. Wow. Okay, now it's getting a little dark. How far does this go? Oh, that's a dead end. We gotta go back the other way. People are following me.
But the warhead ain't going off.
I was worrying when you dropped the wrench. Like, oh,
It was a big wrench. It was like this big. It weighed about 3 pounds. They had to wear those spaces.
All right, bye. Okay, so there's the missile silo, and maybe we can go look inside of it. Wow. Wow. Crazy.
weighs 760 tons. Door.
All this hardware and machinery and wow. Pretty amazing. See if I can get this so you can see in there. Wow. I can't even imagine. Okay, Ray, that's it for the film. Bye.